Hey everybody, I look like something else right now. Today is one of those days where I just feel like putting a little bit of makeup on will make me feel just more like myself, which in turn is just like the perfect opportunity to show you a very simple look. While I do that, I thought it would be fun to kind of continue where we left off last week. I tried to de-influence myself in the last video, talking about makeup products that I probably don't need to buy. If you haven't watched that, I'll link it above. You can go and watch it. I'm going to share some products that I had to talk myself out of in the last couple of weeks. Let's just chat about that today. I don't have that many. Without further ado, let's apply some makeup and talk about these products that I definitely will try to not buy because I know that I do not need them. Everything that I will be using on my face, I will list down below. I really need to cover or like neutralize these dark under eye bags, which is why I still love to use my Catrice Under Eye Brightener for concealer, using a little bit on my ring finger. I do have this scar right here and here, and we'll see how much I will cover that. Maybe not that much. So let's start. First thing I had to talk myself out of was the Wicked collaboration that R.E.M. Beauty did. I really liked how the palette looked and the makeup sets. I think they looked so cute. I really didn't care for the lip oil or for the under eye patches, the face glowy lotion, whatever that was. I cared the most for the Glinda makeup set because I like pink tones a lot. The reason why I realized it really didn't make sense to buy it is, first, it has a pink tone blush that I really don't need because even today I'm going to use this pink tone blush from Catrice. And like I said in my last video, if I already have a pink cream blush, I don't really need another one. I would have been buying a makeup set with a cream blush that I pretty much have. I was really interested in the lipstick, but just buying that makeup set that is also not really affordable, just for the lipstick really wouldn't make any sense. There's a blue like eyeliner in there as well that I would probably never use, and I was trying to tell myself, oh, but I'll get use out of that, but I know myself, I probably wouldn't. So that's one of the reasons I realized, okay, it really doesn't make any sense for me to get that makeup set. Then we have the Alphabet makeup set with deeper tones, something more plum. They're the same thing. I already have plum toned makeup products, and spending $65 for that just doesn't make sense in my mind. Oh, and also they come with a liquid shadow in each of the sets. And the Glinda set had a liquid shadow that was kind of cool tone pink, and I haven't been too much into that. I've been trying to look more warm and bronzy, and it just hasn't really been my style to use very icy colors or like very cool tone shades on my eyes. In the Alphabet makeup set, it's a green liquid shadow. How often am I going to use that? Right, not that often. As pretty as it is, I just know I wouldn't be using it as much. So I was able to talk myself out of those makeup sets, but then there was the palette. I think the palette looks absolutely stunning. Almost the same thing, since I have a few K-beauty palettes. Most of them have different finished glitter shades with different shifts. So I have glitters in pink and in champagne, in purple. I have pretty much all the glitter toppers I would ever need in my life. I haven't been doing eyeshadow that much. And if I do, like I mentioned last week, I do such neutral looks that it really doesn't make sense to buy a palette that is colorful. It would be probably a palette that would be laying around that would be pretty for me to look at, but not really use. I don't need the makeup sets, and I also don't need the eyeshadow palette. Kind of fell victim for that entire, oh, but it's limited edition, I need it right now, I need to have it, it won't be around forever. Yeah, I don't care. I much rather would go for their permanent products that I really enjoy. I have some favorites from them in my collection. Like for instance, I guess that at some point, I don't know when, but I would like to try the Baby Doll eyeshadow palette that they have. That palette makes just a lot more sense for me. It's also a little bit smaller, so if I was going to buy a palette from them, it would probably be that one instead of the Ozdust palette. I'm very proud of myself that I didn't buy any of the 3 items that I just mentioned, especially because then I wouldn't use this Catrice blush anymore. I like how it looks on my face. It's a cool tone pink. The other one may be a little bit more cool, but it's like, it's pink on the cheeks. I'm glad that I didn't get any of those makeup sets. I'm thinking about adding a little bit of a powder blush on top. It's not that I need it because I already have pink enough cheeks, but I like to use the makeup that I have, so that leads me sometimes to use way more makeup products than you would actually need in a routine. Like sometimes I use 3 blushes just because I have them, so I can get use out of them. I think I'll add just a little bit of my NARS blush in Deepthroat. That is a very pretty pink color. I don't know, just a light dust of this is probably not going to do much, but satisfies my brain, I guess. Speaking of cream blushes, I also mentioned this in my last video, but in case you haven't seen that, I mentioned that I really wanted a cream blush brush, and I just realized that I don't need a new brush just for applying my blush. I have this one that I use for my bronzer, and I can wipe this clean and use it to apply my blush as well, but I have been kind of thinking that I need another brush. I'm also glad that I was able to talk myself out of that brush. Sometimes it truly is just seeing people online using, for instance, different types of products that makes me feel like, oh, I have to use that too. Like someone uses a different brush for blush and one for bronzer, and my brush is able to do both of those jobs, but it just makes me feel like I also need an extra blush brush. I've been trying to be a bit more aware of who I watch and what content I consume. I really try to be more careful and mindful of who I support and who I watch. I really don't want to see huge collections, and I'm talking huge, like this type of thing with drawers like full with makeup type of person. I don't need to watch that. I really don't. It gets tiring for me. To keep up the glow, I'm going to use a cream highlighter today. This one is from Hints. When I use this, always apply it only on my cupid's bow and the tip of my nose. Now that I'm going to be doing my eyes, which will only consist of like curling, a little bit of shadow, and that's it. 2 other products I was able to talk myself out of was first the Nabla Side to Side palette. I think it is side to side or side by side. No, I think it's side by side. That palette is very pretty, it's neutral, it would probably be something I would use, but then I just realized that it's pretty big and the tones that it has are very terracotta, warm reds, and yes, the Baby Doll palette from RM Beauty also has those type of tones, but I feel like it's not as dark and deep, and I feel like that makes it more wearable for me if I was going to buy it. And the Nabla palette also has shades that I know I wouldn't touch, like that very gray tone shadow. I would not use that. It was a palette that for some time I thought I needed because, again, I'm a neutral shadow lover. And another shadow palette is from ABH. It is the Novo. Is it how you pronounce that? Novo palette. It is so pretty, but again, it has like one of those more warm reds that I'm pretty unsure if I was going to use it. I love the green tones it has, but also like that lavender shade. I wouldn't really touch that. And my K-Beauty palettes, especially those that are very cool toned, they have soft lilacs like that. So that palette would add some shades to my collection that I don't own, but at the same time, there are so many shades in that palette that I wouldn't use, which in turn just makes no sense to then buy it. And again, it's one of those palettes where I was trying to tell myself, oh, but I will use it once I have it. It's better to be safe than sorry. Not spending my money on that, and I am just going back to my cream and sugar palette from e.l.f. I swear, this has been on rotation now for so long. I always use like the second shimmer shade, and I just apply that like in my inner corner over my lid. I love a good little sheen on the lid. Trying to run through a product before you can actually buy something else. I used to have that rule, but then I kind of lost myself. Can't hurt to try to actually use my products more. Try to be not as impulsive. I think that's another big problem of mine. Like for instance, this blush highlighter thing from Fenty, I didn't buy impulsively because I have been wanting this for 2 years and I just never really got my hands on it this summer when it was available to me, and I remembered that I wanted this for so long. I don't regret having this. But there are so many products that I bought on a whim that I'm like, yeah, I completely forgot about it because it was never an actual like want that I had. Trying to be way more cautious and keeping my wants list so I can write things down like the baby doll palette from REM. I just want to go back into the habit of thinking a little longer about the purchases that I want to do, just be a little bit more mindful. So I'm taking the darkest shade from the e.l.f. palette and I'm just using it a little bit along my lash line. But I won't be using mascara because I just don't want to have my eyes feel heavy. Like that, just a little bit of shadow. Now that I'm going to be using lip liner, this is another thing I had to talk myself out of, and that was the new Maybelline lip liners. Yeah, what can I say? There aren't any colors that I was particularly like excited about. I have more than enough lip liners in my collection. I have the tones now that I really like on myself. A nude color like this, something a bit more red, mauve. There's just no need in buying a new lip liner because I have enough, and it just would make me use these even less. It's almost like with clothing, the more that you have, the less you know what you're going to wear, or the less you use certain pieces. So it was pretty easy actually for me to be like, you don't need a new lip liner. I don't care how good everyone says that these are. I don't need it. Kind of indecisive between my L'Oreal lip gloss and my REM Beauty Glossy Balm. This would be very pretty, right? And that leads me to my last product that I had to talk myself out of, and that is the NYX Fat Lip Oil, whatever it is, you know, with the green cap. Specifically in the shade that's Chic. I believe that was the shade that I was kind of intrigued in, that looked like a very plum, deep color, because I have one burgundy color. It's from e.l.f. It's the shade Jam Session. Just don't think that the NYX one would have done such a different job for me. I've heard that it's also a little bit of a thicker lip oil that feels more of like a lip gloss, so I just realized that I really don't need it. So as pretty as it looked, it just wouldn't really make sense, so I'm glad that I didn't buy that. There is no way I'll be able to save my hair today, so I'll just leave it in this bun. With that, we conclude this makeup look that is pretty simple, pretty easy. Let me know some of the products that you had to talk yourself out of, that maybe social media tried to convince you that you need it, but in reality you really didn't need it. Or maybe share some of the products that you bought that actually ended up being such a disappointment. Like this from Fenty could have been also such a disappointment, right? Because everyone talked so highly about it. I'm always very scared to try viral products because it's not the first time that I try something and I'm like, it's nice, but it's not amazing. It's not wowing me. I had that with the Charlotte Tilbury Pinkgasm Beauty Light Wand. It's really nice. I really like having that in my collection, but it didn't blow me away as much as I thought it was going to, because everyone just talked about that product like it was going to absolutely just wow you in every way. So yeah. Let me know in the comments down below if there are products that actually disappointed you, products that you're glad you didn't buy, anything of that sort. I would love to read your comments. It just makes my day to read your opinions. Since I'm already sharing mine, I would love to hear yours. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. And I just really hope to see you next week with a new video. And until then, please take care. Bye!